Okay. All right.
All right, well, folks, silliness aside, at least temporarily, as we get into this game, this series, we've been waiting around for a little bit to catch it. It's going to be a good one, I feel. Spawning here in the top left side of Lilac Crests, it's going to be the pink Protoss player, Invasion Gaming's Harstem.
In the bottom left, as the green Zerg, he is MiNiMaTh.
Okay, so what's interesting to me is when we were waiting for this series, Harstem had remarked that MiNiMaTh is a really passive player, and him versus Sol might take a lot of time because of that. However, everything we've known out of MiNiMaTh kind of says otherwise. Again, knowing him first for his Ling All-Ins and then later on for his Roach Aggression, I'm curious, I guess, has Harstem played him enough recently on the ladder, or is this an assumption he was making going into it, like without proper information?
I wouldn't know. I mean, the last time we cast MiNiMaTh was 2 years ago. Not the last time we cast him. We probably cast him between that. But the last time we noted how he played was like 2 years ago in that qualifier. So he could have really changed it up for Legacy of the Void. He could just suddenly be adapting a new style, trying to get used to new things. If he goes for Ling All-In on Lilac Crest, that would just make sense. So I wouldn't even be like, oh, well, I guess he's the same person he's always been. And certainly I think Harstem is at least somewhat preparing against that with this double gateway opener. He's going to have both a little bit of aggression as well as maybe more units if he was getting attacked.
Well, already a little bit of an interesting point here with MiNiMaTh having skipped past Harstem's Pro Paras, just went to the third. And this isn't so weird. This is what you do as Zerg. But it's the fact that he expands towards his opponent on Lilac Crest that is a little bit scary, perhaps. Now realizing where Harstem is, may have wanted to take a different third, but nothing too game-ending right now, or game-altering right now.
No, this is very standard openers for both of them. Again, the double gateway opener is just a variation.
Actually,
that you don't have to do, but
one strange point that, well, this hasn't happened this game, I want to bring up because we talked a little bit about it when we saw Huck playing recently, where your first pylon placement's a pretty big deal, and players who play like Harstem, who put the first pylon here, it's not a bad move, but this actually ends up being pretty susceptible to early Ling All-Ins and especially Overlord drops. Whereas players like Huck, who we were casting, putting the first pylon near the mineral line and building SimCity around the Nexus, never fell to that at all. Like, not even once.
All of his pylon placements are actually questionable against Ling attacks.
Yeah, so for I look at Harstem here, and I'm just kind of like, okay, if MiNiMaTh was still playing that old Ling All-In style that we knew, boy, would he be regretting the way he was building.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter that he had double the gateway production as someone who went like a little bit greedier if they're not producing, if their pylons torn down. But he does use the double gateways for the two adepts that are going to both get scouting as well as maybe a couple of drones, certainly force out more lings and probably escape at this rate. MiNiMaTh really not looking for a fight here.
Wait to see if he would cancel that, maybe get a bit greedy for some kills, but Harstem, he didn't actually scout that MiNiMaTh took a third. Now this is kind of interesting because he might be assuming that he did, and that's fine, but not actually seeing it is still a thing.
Yeah, I think he saw the drone go from the natural to the third with his probe. So yeah, he just assumed, which could have bit him in the butt, but obviously is not the case. He sees that it's still slow lings. MiNiMaTh gets up there and sees the Twilight Council researching. You see that they have a good number of adepts. You're probably going to think that it's a Resonant Enclaves. It's also, a map that does fine with that. If it was ruins, maybe you'd guess it was blank instead. But it is going to be potentially a nice attack, I should say, like not like an all-in or anything like that, but just a nice amount of adepts running into his base. Harstem seeing the amount of lings, though, I'm not so sure. I think he might just hold off on that. He's warping a lot of them. He's sending a probe to the third.
Mothership Core gets the scout that he wanted to confirm and see just how saturated this was. So get some hits, gonna probably fly away. I don't think he'll need to burn a recall here. Thank you, by the way, Mist 0000009 for the 2-month resub.
Yeah.
It's like how many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple O's.
So that is quite a few adepts, 9 in total, and they are going to have Resonant Glaives. That's going to be too much for these lings to handle, but 12 more are on the way, and a Roachhorn's also on the way. He sees it's transferring and knows that he has to prepare here.
I don't know. I think the amount of lings out would be fine for this. As long as they don't, if they stay at the top and get a high ground, is difference. But splitting is where this becomes problematic, and this is where we start seeing good versus bad versus great Protoss players. Harstem gets the first kind of juke off, which is nice. Gets to the mineral line, secures a decent spot. But now when he splits, we'll half go to the third, half go to the main. Will they all just run away? He's gonna have to trade out best he can. He will lose some of the adepts before they get the transfer off, but still, 4 drones and quite a few lings die for very few adepts.
I really like that they didn't suicide the rest of the adepts. Now, they might still die with lings chasing them. A couple of them are very low, but it is most of your army in this game right now. And to just give them away could have been dangerous, especially since you saw that they actually were getting roaches. And MiNiMaTh, yeah, he went for 12 drones, actually more than 12 drones now, but those also could have been 8 roaches or whatever, turning into Ravagers too as he comes across the map trying to deny his third base. I mean, MiNiMaTh's still trying to poke and take down the rocks. Could have been scary had he given away his entire army.
I actually like the idea of at least just opening this up, because this either forces Harstem to put some SimCity back here and spend minerals he wouldn't otherwise want to spend. It opens up the attack path if you're not paying attention. Harstem hopefully paying attention, almost loses the Mothership Core. Very scary, as she's got quite a bit of energy on her. Okay, that was not worth. I'm not. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that use of the Mothership Core. Unfortunately, she is quite important. A weak Adept is holding the line here, so she does get torn down. The Ravager's going to be dealt with easily, and the Lings are only going to be a minor annoyance. But MiNiMaTh is still following this up with more units. He reached 60 drones, so he can go ahead and just pump out as many units as possible. Roach speed's about to finish. No upgrades on this, by the way, and so far no additional tech. Definitely could afford a 4th base.
He did get the Mothership Core back out, so he's not going to be finding himself with no overcharges, but this wall being gone, this presents a lot of problems, and I think he's realized this now too as he starts getting a pylon up. A couple of gateways go down, you block this off. A little bit of peace of mind, by no means a permanent solution, but Zealot's been warping in behind this, unfortunately not enough to fully wall this off. Phoenixes are kind of out of juice. There's a couple of pickups left in them at this point, but mostly the adepts are doing okay for the time being. The probe kill count's not getting out of control just yet.
No, not yet. It is a little worrying because Harstem does not have a robo already. Like, it's just finishing up right here, and without immortals, you are going to be having a more difficult time against roaches. And it is just roaches right now. Not even bothering to Ravagers. They get into the third base, and they're just going to sack themselves, looks like. Try and get as much as they can before they die. MiNiMaTh did go for Hydralisk behind this.
It's getting a little out of hand for Harstem. Like, he's cleaning this up, and it's by no means the end of the game. But this got so many more probe kills than I think he was anticipating. Almost 20 go down through this. Yeah.
MiNiMaTh is making an awful lot of minerals. I'm surprised he hasn't thrown in a 4th yet, because he's so gas-starved. There it goes now with the mineral drone. And also getting, of course, Spore Crawlers, because he's been nothing but aggressive so far, but now the Phoenixes will have some time to go over on the other side of the map. Try and get a couple of Queens, maybe. That's exactly what it does.
Yeah, the funny thing about this, though, is actually... I don't know how dangerous the counterattack really was for these Phoenixes. Harstem didn't have a lot of energy, as we saw when it came to the defense, so only a couple Graviton beams just coming up now. I want to address what Lanston in chat says. This wasn't listed on the calendar stat phase. So, my friend, we are still getting used to the calendar, and I promise things like this will not happen as often. But we also had a lot of, lack of confirmed information about this. Like, the WCS Shanghai qualifiers, I'm really happy to be casting them, but there's been a lot of problems. And they have not... These are definitely not the most best run things. So, we didn't know whether we'd be covering this or not, actually.
Yeah.
That's why it wasn't added to the calendar. So, sincerest apologies, and do understand we love y'all, and we wouldn't scumbag you on a cast. And it wasn't lazy complacency. It was just non-confirmation, I guess.
Yeah. The first course of action is to check the calendar, and then I guess second is, of course, to check Team Liquid, see if we're on. This is a very, very big attack with mostly Hydralisks, some of them on the front lines, too.
Yeah, but the high ground vision actually becomes a bit of a problem if you can't get enough of it. Barely has enough. If you'd been able to tear down that Twilight Council, stop charge, that would have been fantastic. But again, those forces at Harstem were pretty nice. Problem is, though, Harstem's faced that same situation every Protoss seems to be right now, where he's just down in supply by a pretty significant amount. And a big part of this is because, as you pointed out, like, MiNiMaTh didn't have a lot of upgrades coming behind this. This was like just raw Hydras, raw Ravagers. +1 started.
Oh no!
But that was
charge.
That's a good cancel, for sure. But these engagements at this ramp, they're bad. He's dedicating a lot of units to it. Harstem's starting to even up that army supply.
Yeah. Well, MiNiMaTh is once again banking a ton and just use it with the rest of his larva, I guess. Larva problem a little bit here. Still trying to push through. He knows that if he can get past the gateway and past whatever force fields and there's no more left over, that his army could have been good against this. Like the Hydra stripping through the Immortals, but good pickups on the Phoenix.
Yeah, the crowd control aspect of this was really nice. It's not even about killing those Hydras straight up. Now it was about just buying that little bit of time. That's kind of cool about Protoss, I guess, in a little bit. Ling run by here on the right side. It looks like it's whole position versus Zealots, so these Zealots will clean this up. 5 more probes die, but nothing too devastating. For MiNiMaTh, though, I really don't like the dedication around that choke, because there really was no reason to push the issue there.
Yeah, I mean, there's always other options, especially if you're already on a 4th base and a decent drone count. I mean, obviously his plan this game is to go ahead and push and try and break through Harstem, but if it's not working, maybe you tech behind it, maybe you get a second evolution chamber. There would have been other options, but maybe also fearing the growing immortal count as you realize that they have double robos, as most Protoss do in PvZ, and that if you let them also just do whatever they want, that they're going to be the ones that overrun you soon. So just that balance of keeping the aggression while also not all-inning, per se.
Really nice pickups with these Phoenix, by the way, so far. Catching a lot of Hydras, grabbing that Queen, just causing all kinds of chaos. Harstem is, I feel like, wishful thinking. It's dangerous. It's a very risky investment. If he gets away with it, it will be very nice to have that 4th, but he still hasn't replaced the main wall. This is still a gaping hole in his defense. It's scary to be doing this.
Yeah. There's a chance that MiNiMaTh will never see it, however, and maybe that's mostly what he's depending on. There's also just his army. It's close to being that perfect Protoss army. He's missing charge, which is quite unfortunate. Only just started again. The Archons are just coming in now. He can start taking engagements that aren't dependent upon having a ramp or having good force fields. He can actually take an engagement that's concave versus concave. I don't know if he's quite ready yet. Again, without those Archons, without that charge, it might be difficult. But he's going to try because he wants to defend that 4th base.
Well, the force fields are pretty good to start.
This is not going so badly. The Ravagers only take on one of those sentries, and obviously they both are very scared of each other's armies, so Harstem gets a little bit better from that fear because his 4th base is now up and running. It's actually mining.
So I was wondering about this. Sorry, this is unrelated to the game. Because I thought I saw this earlier. We're using a 3-minute delay on Twitch, but it's actually a 5-minute delay going to the stream.
What?
Yeah. Because when I was trying to run the ad earlier, it took so long to actually queue to play. But the game's only 7 minutes in on stream right now, but we're 13 minutes in.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll have to look for that after this fight here.
Yeah,
the fight not going so well. Nothing but Ravagers and Hydras left over. If there was some splash here, they would go down very easily.
Well, as you say, not even splash, just fodder. Zealot's got to get in that front line. Adept's got to soak these hits, Immortals with barriers are great, but as we saw, a lot of those barriers get triggered early on, killed very quickly. MiNiMaTh trades that out a lot better than I thought he was going to. Because Harstem, it looked good when he had that wall of Adepts and whatever in front, but the second those fell, those Immortals started going down pretty quick.
Yeah. But luckily they were targeting these low health units, and just simply their damage was enough, even if they didn't get a bonus versus them. So they do once again deflect off of each other. Now MiNiMaTh obviously knows the 4th base is up. He needs to start thinking about his own 5th probably. He did get an infestation pit, so he's been thinking about teching. He also got a lurker den, but he has really used up that bank, for the past. Well, I think for the first 4 fights, he always had about 1,000 minerals in the bank, 500 gas. And that's a pretty comfy bank if you're doing well enough. Now he's really lacking that bank every single time he has to deflect off of Harstem's army. And it's a little worrying because, well, you're going to start not being able to reduce, obviously, but you're also not going to be able to advance as Harstem continues to get his, not quite death ball, but close to it.
Let's not forget how good Barrier is going to be as well when you talk about deflecting and trading. Immortals will have a lot of health retention as long as they can survive that 45-second cooldown. Mining over here is going to be driven off for the time being. Not super bad. But just go back to this topic of delay for a moment. Not do I find this strange and whatever. I only bring it up because at some point we are going to be casting the same matches as the other casters who are using, as well, I've been told only to use a 3-minute delay. If they are not suffering the same problems we are, I'm just going to state it really quick now, guys. When we finally start having to cast a lot of the same games as the other casters, no spoilers on the channel allowed, period. I thought we wouldn't have to worry about that today, but apparently we might have to because of weird delay syncs.
Yeah. Well, MiNiMaTh tries to take a bit of a hidden... Well, not really. I mean, I guess this is the base that would make the most sense.
Not very well hidden because Harstem finds it immediately.
Right? That too. I guess you would take... Well, yeah, you would take the third of that lower right base if the rocks were broken down in the new layer lacks.
I don't think there's detection here. Harstem doesn't have any observers. These lurkers are not going to be dealt with.
Oh, that's awkward.
Not even an oracle.
There we go. He realizes very quickly, starts an observer right now. Could get an oracle as well, just anything to try and get as much detection out as possible. But, I mean, he could also just try and be like, yeah, I totally have detection. Please don't push into me, which I think MiNiMaTh is starting to realize he doesn't.
No, I don't blame him either, because there is this degree of you have to be scared of the Immortals. You got to respect how much damage they can do, and I mean, MiNiMaTh is playing this safer than he should, but in any other situation, this is exactly how you'd want to play. Not realizing that there's an advantage here isn't at the fault of MiNiMaTh yet, but he is losing the opportunity to take advantage. Now the Observer coming in that front line. The Immortal's going to start pushing forward a little bit preemptively. Let's not forget, barriers were triggered already. A lot of these barriers are already on cooldown, but the Immortals are still going to push forward, and looks like he will take a pretty good fight. Charge lots get completely taken out of this, but that's fine. Their whole goal was just to soak hits for the Immortals, so the Immortals could do the important job of removing the Lurkers. There's one Zealot, by the way, down here, Hero. Well,
that one Zealot killed a hatchery. Other Zealots killed about 15 plus drones, so bringing MiNiMaTh down to 40. And he was already mining out of his first 3 bases, which he was on for a very long time, constantly trading out. So MiNiMaTh, I mean, he's kind of lost this game already. Like, he can't reproduce all those lurkers that he lost. His army is bare bones, where Harstem's is getting just better and better.
I'm kind of in that same camp here, where I feel like if you're going to play the style MiNiMaTh is, your advantage is your economy, and you're just throwing wave after wave of units and bodies at your opponent because you can whittle them down with your reproduction. But the fact that he doesn't have that money and he doesn't have the ability to remax and reproduce so consistently, like, okay, lurkers are cool, but they're not going to win you the game against someone who's got 10 Immortals in play.
Yeah, and now 4 observers, as he realized his mistake pretty quickly.
Oh, no,
I mean,
I was guessing.
some Zergs are intentionally looking for those observers to snipe, and that's why, you know, they make sure to bring the overseers. But I guess some other times they're just, you know, you don't anticipate the opportunity there. Like, you know, it's like the Terran anticipating the Banelings not having speed. You know, it's one, like, you'd notice, and then you'd be like, well, I guess it's coming right now, and you never push in, because you just figure it's on the way.
I think that's where we go back to the start of this game, though, where we were talking about Harstem stating that MiNiMaTh was a bit of a passive player, and I think in that one example that was best exemplified, because some other players I know, to name a few, like would actually just go straight to that Nexus, regardless of whether they thought there'd be observers or not, and they would just try and force a good trade, right? But by playing it safe and slow, MiNiMaTh loses out on that opportunity, and that passive play shows through.
Yeah. Now his army is majority lurkers, a handful of roaches to try and buffer, but against Immortals, like, they're not going to buffer for long. MiNiMaTh's Spire and Hive are way too late. Like, the next step for him would have been, well, Fungals potentially, but also definitely more so to the Broodlords. But you know, you just spend all your money for the most part. You're still not a very good supply, and Harstem's almost maxed out. Harstem should be able to push. If MiNiMaTh has to reveal, like, he has to not reveal, rather, that he has such a small army and just hope that Harstem would play defensive and passive.
Yeah, that's where it's starting to get around the map, I think. Like attacks like this, I like it. If he was also attacking the Nashville at the same time, like, that's the distraction you need. That's what Harstem's been doing by sending all these zealots randomly around the map. So trying to apply some of the same tactics, not a bad move out of MiNiMaTh. By the way,
MiNiMaTh has been pretty good on sectioning away a couple of roaches. What's up?
I just want to give a special shout out to Yui. See her tuning in.
Oh, hey.
Love that girl. So as Harstem continues to advance tech, like, he's moving towards Stargates. He's looking for what is the Fleet Bacon.
Fleet Bacon. Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't really have to go into Tempests. He could just push and win with this army. I mean,
yeah,
it's not so much like a move. Like, he has to be careful about it, but
Well,
it's a pretty good army.
What I imagine is actually happened here is Harstem thinks his passive play was transitioning into Brood Lords, not because there was no army.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But he chose right through this, and
yeah.
I think we knew this was how
realizes.
this was going to go. Yeah, little to no supply left. GG, Harstem is going to take the first game in this best of 3. But yeah, I see what he meant by expecting MiNiMaTh to be a bit more of a passive player.
Yeah.
Of course, second map is going to be Dusk Towers. We got a really cool intro for that, but that was a really long game, guys. So we're going to hop into a small break while we get the second game up and running, and we'll see you soon. Alright, we gave this talk yesterday, and it seemed to be kind of effective, so I want to try it again. If you guys are hearing this right now, you've either got Twitch Turbo, or maybe you have ad block off, and your region doesn't receive ads. But I'm imagining there's a large portion of you guys who do actively use ad block, and that's fine. I said this before yesterday, and I still stand by it. There's a large part of the internet that requires you to have ad block, because people are pretty shitty and very irresponsible, and just want to throw as million ads at you as many as possible. We don't do that here on the channel. We only play ads when there's downtime or if a player's going to need a break, which is what we're doing right now, for example. And we try to be as responsible with the ads as possible. You can play longer than 2-minute ads on Twitch. We always choose to stick to 2 minutes, though, because we don't want them to be very long. And turning off ad block helps us a ton. I'm not, this isn't like a beg you for money type thing. I'm just stating that if you want to help support the channel and you want to be guilt-free, I guess, like you can do that through watching ads. And know for a fact that BaseTradeTV will never ever play ads irresponsibly. And furthermore, if you ever do get ridiculous ads, we'll be the first ones to tell you, find a way to skip it. You know, if you watch this, turn off ad block, and then get a 15-minute ad immediately afterwards, skip that shit, because it should only be 2 minutes at most. So again, I know not everybody's going to listen to this and care, but if at least one person hears this and says, you know what, maybe I'll consider turning off ad block for these guys because I like watching them so much, then it's worth it for us. Because ad revenue has just been in the gutter across the board. It's not just us, it's a lot of streamers experiencing this problem. Ad block rates are way up. So, just a small request from us, guys. Consider turning it off. Consider turning it off. Consider turning it off. Alright, so before we get into the intros for this game, a very interesting point being brought up by chat amidst the middle of the end of that last game. Why no Spire to MiNiMaTh? And I have to say, I find that an interesting question because he was moving towards Hive Tech, and I imagine he was thinking Broodlords and all this, but if we're going to be honest, while we see it frequently out of players like Penguin and some of the ones we cast more frequently on the channel, the idea to base trade is not a go-to for a lot of players. The idea to get Mutalisk and try and get around an army, as good as it is in a lot of situations, a lot of people don't think of that right off the bat. So I don't fault MiNiMaTh because he was very dedicated to that one strategy that did not allow for like easy transition. Mm-hmm. At any rate, it is game number 2, as we mentioned, spawning here on the bottom left side of Dusk Towers. He's up 1-0 currently. It is going to be Invasion Gaming's Pink Protoss Harstem.
In the top right, as the green Zerg, he is MiNiMaTh.
Okay, so MiNiMaTh plays for Against All Authority. It's a bit of an older French team. I think they're working with Easter to do that Pro Challenge tournament that's going on right now. But Against All Authority, pretty good guys. We've known MiNiMaTh for a while. For those who don't know, actually, this is where Marine Lord got to start a little while back, too. That's at least where I first found the young kid playing in Zotac Cups underneath that tag. So Against All Authority has turned out some pretty decent players over the years.
Yeah. Build AAA. There's
I see what you did there.
honk honk. And then that trailing, that commercial. Also a battery. It all works. In this case, it's a Triforce. And did we get I remember when we first saw their clan tag, their decal. We were like, why is it a Triforce?
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Of course.
It's kind of like an A, I guess. I don't know. They're in the Legend of Zelda.
I guess you kind of see that being 3 A's.
Yeah, alright, okay. 3 triangles. A's are basically triangles, so, Illuminati.
No, we did this yesterday. I don't have it in me to do it again. Really quick, by the way, MiNiMaTh playing a more passive style, I think, was... Maybe that's his prerogative, right? Like, Harstem called it before things got started, and then we saw how the game ended. But I kind of feel like a lot of that came off the fact that he went for this pretty big attack, and it just simply didn't work. And... anytime your plans fall to shit in StarCraft 2, even the best players don't necessarily have a good follow-up to that, right? Like, that might not just be the fault of MiNiMaTh. He may have just been thinking, I was supposed to win the game with that one attack in the natural. falling back off the end of this. Like, I can't do this Phoenix harass. I'm bleeding out Hydras left and right. What do I do?
Yeah. I mean, it was not the best aggressive macro game that we've ever seen, you know? Because it wasn't that he was totally passive, but it wasn't also that he was all-in. He was middle of the road, and we've seen other Zergs handle it just a little bit better. Like, recognize, okay, at third time I attack, I'm still not winning, let's transfer over to something else. Or it always seemed that MiNiMaTh was a little behind the times, you know? Harstem was very much so doing everything I think that a Protoss should, like defending against the attack, just slowly getting your immortals, slowly getting to that tech, and then slowly expanding, like, you know, good Protoss. But MiNiMaTh was trying to make something work that was not going to, and it took a long time to actually tech out of it.
I've got Harstem get some pretty good adept harass that last game too. Showing some pretty decent control. But the evolution chamber is something that leaves me with question marks, and that question mark is, will it be for Overlord drops or early upgrades? And yep, it's going to be for Overlord drops. So this is where we talked about Harstem before. Like, his Sim City and the way he builds doesn't actually necessarily play super well into this. But at the same time, with a Phoenix opener, this shouldn't get too out of hand either. Like, this first drop's going to go off, and that's going to be a little annoying. But aside of that, the Overlord's going to get picked off. The Adept should clean up these Lings. And for MiNiMaTh, it's not going to get the damage done that he wanted to. In fact, coming out one at a time, these Lings are struggling to get the damage done to anything, really. It cleaned up almost immediately.
This was not the greatest Ling drop I've ever seen.
No, it feels like it's kind of blatant, too. Like Harstem saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah. It's also just, there's no, like, look over here while I do over here, you know? There was, like, 2 Lings something in the third base, which Harstem didn't even put probes to, so there was no difficulty in defending against that. Now, the same way that it was no, like, you know, it wasn't hard for Harstem to defend that, it wasn't that hard for MiNiMaTh to do and to afford. He did go for a 3 Atrophy 4 pool this game, makes sense on Dusk Towers, and an Evolution Chamber is not that expensive, and it will be useful later on, potentially. He didn't get, you know, Overload Speed, but maybe he will later. Yeah. Actually, no Overload Speed and no Roach Warren with a really quick lair. Oh, nope, never mind. I thought he was going to go for Spire, but then he gets +1 missile. So, maybe just Ling Hydra then. Ling Hydra and a lot of lurkers.
I would like Ling Hydra a lot more than Roach Hydra just because of the Phoenix opener. That's actually a lot more of a common way to respond to that back in HOTS, for example. But the problem is going to come down to the fact, and this happens with all PvZs, I feel, there's going to be a lot of Immortals at some point. And if that's the case, MiNiMaTh is going to need something else. And I don't necessarily mean straight to mutas, but I mean, like, literally some Infestors with some Fungal Growths, Infested Terrans, Blinding Clouds, like, just that extra element to the game, you know?
Yeah. Definitely, all the stuff that he was missing in the last game.
Oh, shout out to Physics,
I guess, yeah.
Physics, however you say that. Thank you for the subscription, and then we got a donation coming in from Game Set Match StarCraft. And he says, "For all my ad block sins," and donates $10. That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. I know we gave like an ad block speech, but just a small follow-up to that, because I saw some people talk about Turbo in chat. Just so you guys who have Turbo know, because a lot of people don't. If you use ad block in combination with Turbo, the effects of Turbo don't actually get used. And for those who don't know what that is, if you use Twitch Turbo, you don't get ads, but you still give the channel money as if you had seen an ad, like that tenth of a cent type thing. But if you got ad block on, it actually does not register.
Yeah, it still blocks it.
I wish they would make that more public too. Like that, it's not. I don't think Twitch is ashamed. It's just they don't think people need to know that or something. Or I don't know what the deal is.
Well, I mean, do they ever really mention ad block at all in any?
No, Twitch is actually. I remember we had written something about ad block in our description, and I was told to remove it because they don't want their partners to have anything about ad block anywhere. Yeah,
so they're like kind of like in the hopeful like naiveness that like if you don't mention it, no one will do it, but that's not working. So I feel like that's why they would mention it in Turbo, but that does suck for us.
Criticism about ads and stuff later is we do have a pretty large attack coming out of MiNiMaTh, so it is going to be Ling Hydra primarily, and funny, like, Immortals are better now than ever because of that barrier. However, overcharges do go off, and the Mothership Core goes down immediately. Hydras still bring a lot of damage to the fight. You might get a 200 shield temporarily with this Immortal. Hydras are still going to tear right through that. That's a lot of damage coming out of these units. Zealots on that front line as well. I mean, they're going to just soak hits, which is nice. As long as these Immortals have a buffer in front of them, they should hold this location. But this buffer is dissipating very quickly. The Adepts are going down. He needs something a little bit tankier, a little bit juicier. MiNiMaTh hitting with this huge surround now. And Harstem is just bleeding out every unit he has. No overcharges to fall back on.
They help out somewhat. The charge, or rather the regular Zealot's not charged on yet. Gets right on top of those Hydralisk and is able to barely push that back.
That was like the ultimate cavalry's here type moment, but now the question is like, will Archons be enough behind it? Like, Archons can be better for damage than Immortals are, sure, but the same problem faced where you're going to need buffer in front of it. And if Harstem spends every single Warpin and every single mineral right now on Archons, that's actually going to be bad. He needs something in front of these Archons.
We'll see how they do. There is a lack of Hydras now. It is mostly Lings, so the focus fires aren't really going to be there. And looks like MiNiMaTh has given up the pure Ling Hydra attack, which he should. I mean, that was either going to be immediately followed up with Lurkers if you decided not to do the attack, or you're going to do the attack, hope that you win, get pushed back, and have to go back in a droning. And obviously this is that scenario. So he has a 4th base. He's getting up to a very good amount of drones. He was not at a bad amount when he started. And he's getting all of the tech options, which, as we talked about, was missing in that last game for so long. Even though Lurker Den came down late, and we did see Lurkers with the Spire never played a part. And in this case, I guess Roachborn too.
The Spire specifically was a really big missing component. We did get a donation right before that attack came underway, and then crazy stuff happened. Thank you to $5 and says, here, have a donation. I'm not turning off Adblock though. That's fine. $5 is worth like watching thousands of ads, man. So thank you kindly. Now, as the drones start getting harassed, the Phoenix don't really have a lot of energy, and that's kind of visible to your opponent. So I think MiNiMaTh knew this was not something he had to deal with, but if he could catch a Phoenix, that's always nice.
To catch a Phoenix.
Why you gotta say it like that?
That would be a terrible show.
Yeah. Would you have a seat? No, I'm a flying unit. I can't do that.
There are the mutas on the way now.
So we were asking people to tweet at us emoticon suggestions, right?
Right.
A gun check emote. Oh, that's not a bad idea at all.
I swear to God, that has been suggested before, and I totally forgot about it.
Just like have someone like cocking a gun or something as like the emoticon.
Yeah.
All right, so the mutas, when they come out little bits at a time, it's like the same with the Hydras, right? You can't run into the Phoenix. Bulked up, maybe a better fight, maybe looking a little bit stronger. The problem with these mutas, though, it's never going to be a situation, especially when Archons are in play, where you're just going to be throwing those in the front line. Keeping them in the back, trying to snipe off some Templar that have Storms, maybe going for some Mineral Line harass. That's how these are going to be best utilized. And MiNiMaTh is actually going to find little to no resistance back home. And overcharge, a cannon, but they just fly down here afterwards where there's nothing at all. In fact, there is literally nothing at all down there. If you go south, the only thing you have to worry about is Phoenix.
Well, yeah, and Harstem did do a good job. You know, he saw the mutas. You know, that's what originally started it. So keeping the Phoenixes back and it being the perfect maneuver. If it was 30 mutas, this would not have done it.
MiNiMaTh starts moving at the exact same time Harstem moves in, so had the very bad, like a huge danger being out of position. This is not an army you want to get a surround on. This is an army that, for MiNiMaTh, because of the Lurkers and the Spiners, like, he needs to fight head on.
Yeah. That was almost dangerous. MiNiMaTh's mutas getting cleaned up. It's not ideal, but it was almost a certainty with, you know, he was not dedicating to them, and Harstem already had a good number of Phoenixes. So less so on MiNiMaTh losing the mutas, more so on Harstem doing a good job not overreacting to the mutas, as some Protoss might do. He now brings his Phoenixes forward, and he'll help take those Lurkers out, or a couple of key Hydralisk. And Harstem is pretty well set up to take an engagement here. They're both on, well, actually, no, he's a better upgrade. It's +3 versus just the +2, and he goes for it. That's a lot of Lurkers. They're in the back. They're trying to be protected.
The Zealots get annihilated. Like, not even a chance to soak any of that damage.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's supply.
That was a huge supply drop-off for Harstem. Now, he might catch some of these Lurkers as they advance forward, but truth be told, he needs to get these Immortals the hell out of Dodge, because if he stays here, it's not going to end well for him.
Oh, no.
Funny enough, though, MiNiMaTh, because of the lack of Lings, Hydras, and like the non-Lurker units, he can't actually push forward too comfortably.
He's going to be very careful. The Phoenixes, unfortunately, they were trying to catch maybe a couple of Lurkers that were falling behind, but they ended up just mostly dying. Not too great from Harstem there. But you also be worried about also the backup storms that ideally all Protosses would have to cover their asses when a push fails like that. So not being too quick to push into a choke, for sure. Just keeps out in the middle of the map here. Harstem is being harassed by something? A single muta.
Yeah, it was dancing around there for a while. I kind of looked at it a moment ago and ignored it because it was one muta. It's not.
Yeah, right?
I didn't think it was worth looking at for more than a second, to be honest.
Yeah. I saw it in the production tab and figured it would just die in the army. Looks like the Warp Prism dropped off a couple of Zealots, but then hasn't really, I didn't really do very much. We did have Harstem go up to the Fleet Beacon already, so 2 Tempests at a time on the way. This is not a reaction to Broodlords. It's a precaution against Broodlords for sure, but we know that there's not even Infestation Pit. So this is going to add a lot of range and utility to his army.
I really like this second Warp Prism actually quite a bit. We'll talk about this more in a moment because, yeah, the production's kicking up and that extra row is going to be huge. I don't know if this is the real Red Eye, but if it is, thank you very fucking much. $20 comes in and it just says keep doing what you guys do with a heart.
Oh, thank you. Well, I know he was tweeting about us, so...
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I've been watching his Overwatch stuff. He actually has a couple of really funny videos, like Symmetra getting, like, turret kills after she died. I love those things.
I haven't seen any of those, but I know I finished reading his I did the pay and download the book, the guide.
Oh,
I guess.
The guide for casting.
Yeah, that's actually that was. Well, I don't exactly follow it very well. It's actually very, very informative. But okay, anyways, enough about that. The Zealots do unload over here. The second Warp Prism, I was hoping for that distraction, that two-pronged attack with the double Warp Prisms. Unfortunately, not going to happen. Meanwhile, while this harass is going on in MiNiMaTh's base, and it's questionable whether MiNiMaTh can even deal with it, he's got a slow push coming up in Harstem's front. And Harstem, unfortunately, his army, while good, is going to struggle to take a head-on engagement. Tempest, however, slowly chipping away. That's always going to be his advantage. There's going to be Storms on top of this as well, so he can stop those Hydras from pushing forward. Meanwhile, both players bleeding out workers. Lynx clear out most of this fourth base. Harstem does kill most of MiNiMaTh's third.
So many Immortals. 14 Immortals. I mean, everything else dies. His High Templar, all of his Zealots.
Yeah, but he cleans this up, and that's all that matters.
14
Barrier
Immortals still lives. Okay, one went down.
Well, okay, but even then, like, the fact is he's got Barrier probably off of cooldown for the next attack, and that 200 health shield will only last for like 2 seconds is huge. When you've got this many Immortals, nothing's gonna die.
The Warp Prism's still alive as well, so that could be coming up to help reinforce, because I don't think he has the second one around him. I know that Oracle joins, as it can be very important to get the revelation off. I mean, the last one died, but not before it got like a huge revelation, just in case they're going to be sniping your observers, or in case the observers lag behind. So Archons definitely want to complement this Immortal Force. Looks like MiNiMaTh did realize that it was nothing but Immortals, and is going to try and get Mutas as a last desperate hope to clean this up.
Yeah, but this charge forward out of Harstem, like, let's not forget, this is +3 weapons against a very non-existent Carapace upgrade as well. Like, everything is going to die. Harstem's just... It's not even a glass cannon because of the way the Immortals got the barrier. It's just a cannon. Harstem's coming in like a cannon, and he's executing everything in his path. The Hydras, I mean, in a best-case scenario, trade with the Archons, and then maybe the Mutas come in, but I don't imagine that's going to happen. The Mutas turned away immediately. That splash damage is way too scary to fight.
Harstem didn't bother with Blink this entire game, but he is warping in some Stalkers to help out, and of course, he's also making a couple more Phoenixes, but
ooh, I like the spread.
Realizing that he can take the fights anyways. Well, the Archons are all dead. Okay, it doesn't matter.
I think a big part of the hesitance was, are there more Lurkers, right? You just have to assume. Like, if you've killed 17 Lurkers, there's probably more behind it, but Harstem takes a very nice 2-0, and what I like about this displayed was, Harstem bet on himself with 4 twos. So I think he had confidence he was going to win. And then B, like he called it. Like, it was passive play for the most part. It wasn't ridiculous all-ins. He knew what MiNiMaTh was going to do, and slow games dealt with it efficiently. Now, where the brackets leave us is going to be fun times because, well, I said we might not follow this bracket. I'm actually thinking we should, because hear me out, guys. Harstem now moves on to fight against Damaga. The winner of that goes on to fight against Showtime, and the winner of that fights either Snoot or Euthermal or DNS. This bottom part of the bracket is actually really sexy looking. We also might have Mana versus TLO in the next round as a team kill. I'm not sure how all this stuff's going to time out, but we'll try and grab everything that we possibly can. But worst case scenario, this bottom half of the bracket is a great bracket to ride out. So we're going to go to a small commercial break. 2 minutes, I promise you, no longer. And when we return, hopefully we'll have Harstem and Damaga ready to go. Again, lots of great matches ahead. It's double elimination. We got so much to do today. We'll see you guys in a few moments with more when we return. O Gaming is going to be covering the last game of Little Bounds Answer if you guys want to check that out too. That's where they're heading. So we'll see you soon.